Yes, students, let's get started. So in the previous class, you have viewed this image of layers of soil. So we have seen 4 different types of abiotic components which are continuously in interaction with the biotic components, which are water, you have seen the soil, right? You have seen also the temperature, and also one more will be what? Air, right? So these 4, see, you can see soil, this is light, then water, and this is temperature. So these are the major abiotic factors which we have discussed in the previous class. Of course, air is also one of them, but as per your syllabus, we have discussed these 4 as the major abiotic factors. So in today's class, so let us go little further. See, you have already seen all these images in the previous class, and after studying and understanding these abiotic factors, now let us study one more important aspect of this chapter. This is what is called as ecological niche. So ecological niche means, so in simple words you can tell what ecological niche is nothing but a working place of an organism in its ecosystem. So when I say working place of an organism, it does not have any work as such like human beings, right? So like we human beings, you come to college, you study here, you go home, you do all these daily course, etc., etc. But organisms as such, they do not have any particular role to play. But the very important role for these organisms is nothing but coordinating with the other biotic and abiotic factors in the nature. So one simple example let us consider here. See, honeybee. Honeybee is a very important organism. When we talk about the ecological niche of the honeybee, so pollination, causing pollination is nothing but causing pollination, collecting the nectar from different flowers is nothing but what? Ecological niche. That is the workplace, or that is the role that has to be played by the honeybee in its ecosystem. Right? So that is why when we summarize, ecological niche means if an organism, if it is living in a particular ecosystem or a habitat, so what all diversified living organisms it comes in contact with, right? And which all different stressful and favorable or unfavorable conditions in which it can survive, and how well it corresponds with those biotic or abiotic factors. What role does it play along with all of them? So that is what can be summarized as ecological niche. So you can take down this definition. So each organism has an invariably defined range of conditions. So what does this mean? Invariably defined range of conditions means, see, these abiotic factors that we have talked about. Temperature it can be, air it can be, soil it can be, light it can be, water it can be. See, if you consider water as that medium in which aquatic organisms survive, the salinity, the pH, the temperature in the water, oxygen content in the water cannot be the same throughout. It keeps on changing, right? So although the changes may be minor, but it is never constant, it is ever changing, right? So that is why we are talking invariably defined range of conditions. So the conditions are never the same. That is what it indicates there. That it can tolerate diversity in the resources it utilizes. So whatever the resources available in its own habitat, in its own environment, and how best it can utilize those, and a distinct functional role. So in its invariable conditions, defined conditions, and in the available diversity of resources, what role that organism can play, so is what is referred to as ecological niche. So it's an important concept for you to understand here, and it is also a very important 1 mark or 2 mark questions in the board examination, and this concept is also important for CET as well as NEET. Now going forward, see, we have learnt about all these aspects, that is the abiotic factors, and now let us see the responses of the organisms to different abiotic factors. I just told you though these abiotic factors, see, these organisms, they have been well adapted to different environmental conditions in which they are surviving in, right? But even though they have adapted to these environmental conditions or surrounding conditions, but these surroundings can never be the same always, isn't it? So that is why how these organisms, they tend to change, or how do these organisms, they tend to respond to the changes of the abiotic factors which are in surrounding of the living organism. I hope you are understanding, right? So responses, that is what we are seeing here. See, when we talk about the responses of the responses to abiotic factors by the biotic factors, these biotic factors, these living organisms can only survive if it is capable of thriving in conditions if they are stressful. So we have talked about unfavorable conditions before in your first PU, right? In biological classification also, in plant kingdom also, we have studied unfavorable conditions, right? So many organisms, they have got their own mechanisms, their own strategies in order to respond or overcome unfavorable conditions, isn't it? So that is what we are actually going to talk about. That means the stress imposed by abiotic factors, how it can be handled by the biotic factors. ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ, ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಫೇವರಬಲ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಅಥವಾ ಅನ್ಫೇವರಬಲ್ ಚೇಂಜ್, ಆ ಆಗ್ತಿರುವಂತಹ ಚೇಂಜ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಜೀವಿಗಳು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ರೆಸ್ಪಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದ ಹೆಡಿಂಗ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಸ್ ಟು abiotic factors. So one thing that we need to consider here regarding the responses, there is something called as optimum condition. Optimum means, so it is average condition. It is neither more nor less. Optimum conditions, especially for temperature and osmotic concentration. Any organism living in any kind of habitat, right, or in any biome for that matter, so will have to have temperature and osmotic concentration of the body fluids, so at a particular concentration as per the requirement of the body of the organism. ಅಂದರೆ ಸೊ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಅತಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕೂಡ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು, ಅತಿ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಕೂಡ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸರೌಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಬಾಡಿ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಕೂಡ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. ದ ಆಸ್ಮೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಷನ್, ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ವೆನ್ ವಿ ಟಾಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ aquatic organisms, osmotic concentration of the body fluids, not only for the aquatic but largely for the aquatic, even also for the terrestrial organisms, this also should be optimum. Optimum ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಹೇಗೆ? See, there is something called as metabolic rate. Body metabolic rate ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. And that metabolic rate, so we have considered this in the previous class also, right? So metabolic rate of the body will actually give an impact on the energy that is produced because of the endothermal reactions that are taking place in the body. There are various biochemical reactions occurring in the body, and because of all these biochemical reactions, what is happening? Energy is getting released. And so if these metabolic activities, the rate of these metabolic activities, if it is maintained at the constant pace or required speed ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ, ಆ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಆ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಪೇಸ್ ಆರ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್ ರೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತು ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಸ್ಮೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಬೇಕು, that required temperature and concentration, they can be called as optimum conditions of these factors. So I am repeating, so the temperature as well as osmotic concentration, that is very much required to carry out the optimum or required rate of metabolic activities in the body of a living organism. So that is what is called as optimum conditions of the living organisms, and thereby these biochemical processes or physiological processes can be maintained at a good pace with maximum efficiency, and that overall contributes to something called as fitness of the organism. So we say biologically fit organisms or biologically unfit organisms. So we have come across this word in the second chapter when we discussed about something called as what inbreeding depression, if you can recall. Inbreeding depression is the condition where continuous self-pollination takes place, because of which there is a biological unfitness. That means there is a loss of losing of biological fitness that we see, right? So that is a different issue. But biological fitness, when we are talking, so proper rate of physiological activities or processes, and also biochemical reactions taking place in the body. So this is about optimum conditions. How to maintain these optimum conditions despite of varying environmental conditions, despite of varying external temperature, external osmotic pressure, external pH, external moisture level. So when all these aspects are varying continuously in the nature, how organisms respond to these changes and how can they cope up with those changes in the environment is nothing but homeostasis. See, homeostasis means, see the very meaning of this word as I have given here, and this word is derived from Greek language. Homeos means same, and stasis stands for static or standing or stagnant. ಹೋಮಿಯೋಸ್ಟಾಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ ಮೇಂಟೈನಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಬಾಡಿ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾಗ್ನೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, ಅಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಚೇಂಜಿಂಗ್ ಟೂ ಮಚ್ in order not to affect the metabolic rate of the body of the organism. So let us look at the definition of this homeostasis, which says that it is the mechanism of maintenance of constant internal environmental conditions despite varying external environmental conditions. ಸೊ ಅಂದರೆ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ, ಸೊ ಡಿಸ್ಪೈಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ದ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ವಿಲ್ ಡೂ ಆನ್ ಎಫರ್ಟ್ ಟು ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಂಟ್ ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ವಿದಿನ್ ದ ಬಾಡಿ. Right? So how does organisms handle this? How do organisms handle this? Maybe through structural or physiological or behavioral mechanisms. Structural, body structure irbodu, physiological mechanism irbodu, or behavioral mechanism irbodu. So let us look into these mechanisms, how these mechanisms are utilized or enhanced, they are put into force by these different living organisms in order to achieve homeostasis. So this homeostasis definition is very important for 1 mark, and it is also an important topic for you this year in this chapter, right? I hope you have understood the homeostasis. Now, going for this, so these two questions have to be answered very importantly. How is homeostasis achieved in human beings, and how homeostasis is achieved in organisms? So in human beings, it occurs mostly through artificial means. Andre hege, see, you have seen whenever you travel in your vehicle, or if you are traveling in a bus or a train, what will you do if you feel a lot of heat? ತುಂಬ ಸೆಕೆ ಅನಿಸಿದರೆ you will open the window, or if there is a provision, you will put on the AC, right? So if you are at home, you will put on the fan or air cooler, AC ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ? Or if it is too hot, if it is too cold, you will start wearing the sweater, right? So you will make yourself warm. That means we use artificial methods in order to overcome unfavorable or stressful conditions and to achieve homeostasis. Andre namma body temperature of the human beings will be approximately 37 degrees Celsius. So this is the maximum, right? If it increases a little bit, if you talk in terms of Fahrenheit, it is 98 degrees Celsius Fahrenheit, right? So in order to maintain that constant body temperature within the body, so we organisms, of course human beings, we go through these artificial means. Then you may ask me, are there no natural means of homeostasis, achieving homeostasis? Yes, they are there in human beings. See, we human beings have adapted to what is something, a kind of more advanced lifestyle, right? Human beings being most evolved creatures on this earth, we have found our own ways to protect ourselves from different variable environmental conditions, right? But in the case of the organisms, how do they achieve homeostasis in the nature? They also follow similar mechanism as that of human beings, not the artificial ones. The natural means that are followed by human beings. What are the natural means? Simple example I will give you: sweating. If it is too hot, we will start sweating, right? So if it is too cold, we will start shivering. Shivering anta helidre naduka. So when you start shivering, what will happen? So your body will shake very vigorously, as a result of which, so heat will be produced in the body, right? So similar Same anta heludilla, but similar such mechanisms are also exhibited by these organisms, and there are 4 possibilities to exhibit or to achieve homeostasis in these living organisms. Okay, apart from human beings, of course, all these organisms also follow natural means, just like the human beings, and even including human beings. So we all organisms tend to maintain homeostasis by following one of these possibilities: regulate, conform, migrate, or suspend. Let us try to understand what are these: regulate, conform, migrate, or suspend. First one, regulate. So it's very it's a common thing. Regulation means what? Controlling. To regulate means what? To control. What to control, how to control, what is controlled, and how it is controlled. See, some organisms, they regulate their body temperature as well as the osmotic concentration of the different fluids in the body. Body temperature ಮತ್ತು osmotic concentration of different fluids in the body are maintained by the efforts of the organisms naturally. So how? Maybe by physiologically or because of behavioral means. Physiological changes ಆಗಬಹುದು. Like for example, in the case of plants, what happens physiologically? If the water concentration in the plant body, if it rises too much, what happens? You have studied in the plant physiology. What happens? So excess of the water from the plant body will be lost in the form of water vapor during the process of, yes, which process? Transpiration, right? And in certain small plants, herbaceous plants such as grasses, the excess of the water that will be lost in the form of water droplet, and that is what is called as guttation. These are physiological behaviors, right? A particular process, a physiological process is involved in this in order to maintain the body temperature and osmotic concentration as well, right? Behavioral changes means what? So in certain organisms, like if you look at the polar bears, they will have what? Lot of fur on their body. This is structural, behavioral or structural, right? Or if you see human beings or any other animals, so if you have a pet dog in your house, if it is too cold outside, so you observe its behavior, it will go and find such a place where it is warm. For any living organism for that matter, except the plants, any animal will go, and if it is too cold, it is going to find a place where it is warm and it is going to sit there, right? This is what is called as behavioral means. So by doing so, they are going to maintain the body temperature, right? And so this statement you need to focus here. So this is the same statement as it is in the textbook I have taken here. So evolutionary biologists believe that mammals have been evolved so much. Mammals are considered as one of the most successful organisms on the earth, having the highest rate of evolution. It is because so they maintain their body temperature and they maintain their osmotic concentration of the body fluids in a natural way and thrive in different or varied environmental condition, be it in Antarctica or in Sahara Desert. Antarctica, very cold temperature, as much as below 0 degrees Celsius as in Antarctica, or more than 45-50 degrees Celsius as in Sahara Desert, right? That is why, so this is about mammals being the most evolved animals among all. Regarding humans maintain, I told you about this, they maintain a constant body temperature at 37 degrees Celsius, right? So if it goes beyond a little bit, that means you are getting fever. So if you're talking about in terms of Fahrenheit, it will be 98 degree Fahrenheit, right? So in summer, what do humans do? So will you go and wear a sweater and come? Will you come to college wearing a sweater in the summer? Obviously not. So when temperatures are high in the summer season, so in order to maintain the body temperature cool, we will start sweating. So when sweating takes place, what will happen? So this is the physiological response I'm talking about. So behavioral response, so there are two kinds of response, right? So one is physiological response. Sweating is a physiological response. Wearing light clothes, wearing cotton clothes in summer, which are not too thick, very thin, right? So such behavioral changes, that is a behavioral mechanism. So here, when sweating takes place, this is the physiological response. Because of sweating, the fluids, the water content from the body, so it will come on the skin, and because of evaporation, a cooling effect will be established. So that is how the maintenance of body temperature takes place in summer, whereas shivering in winter will also increase the body temperature. So that is how body temperature can be maintained, and these organisms, maybe physiologically or structurally or behaviorally, who can maintain the body temperature or osmotic concentration of the body. So these organisms, they will be called as what? Regulators. So they are called as regulators. This can be an important 1 mark question. What are regulators? Okay. So when they ask you what are regulators, don't write about any other regulator, right? There are so many regulators. So regulator, they are asking you from the point of ecological aspect.